couple of hours ago, here in the UK, Jews finished the festival of Yom Kippur. What's Yom Kippur? It's a Day of Atonement. And what is a Day of Atonement? Day of Atonement is a day we spend many hours connecting with God, connecting with our Creator, and reconciling with God. Now, to reconcile with God, we first have to make sure we have reconciled with our fellow human beings. And doing that is not so easy. It's a lot easier to reconcile with God, whereas reconciling with your fellow human being, it's kind of harder. Because with God, you're assuming that God has forgiven you. Express remorse. All good and dandy. Whereas with another human being, they may not necessarily forgive you right away. It's a very interesting phenomena because on the one hand, everyone becomes very pious, very considerate as the days of Yom Kippur approach, especially on the Day of Atonement itself. Everyone's very pious. But God's like, I have no interest in your piety, in your piousness, if you haven't reconciled with your fellow human being. Now, this phenomena is quite unusual because, for the most part, at least in Jewish tradition, we're expected to be on good terms with God, but we're not necessarily requested to be on good terms with other human beings, with our fellow human beings. So it's a bit of an unusual one. Although, okay, yes, being kind to your fellow human being, being kind to each other, being considerate of each other is important. But it's kind of secondary, if you like. The main thing is to be on good terms with God all throughout the year. And on the Day of Atonement, something unusual is asked of us, and we're asked to reconcile with our fellow human beings. I think it's part of the ambience of Yom Kippur, actually. If you want to have full unification, full harmony with God, you're going to have to take care of messes you made all throughout the year. And if you haven't taken care of those messes, I'm afraid you're kind of wasting your time. That's the idea of Yom Kippur. That's the beauty of it. Now, why is it so unique? Because every human being expresses a certain kind of expression of godliness. Every human being expresses God in their own unique way. Every human being, every creature expresses God in their own unique way. You can't overlook this. Although some people do try to overlook it. There are people who say, well, that human being is not righteous enough, or that human being is not part of my faith. There are all kinds of tricks employed for people to overlook this fact. But the fact is that God created everything and everyone. And if you overstep and you overlook and you delete and skip out one type of human being because they're not exactly what you define to be godly, kind of being ungodly, and you're kind of associating your beliefs within a realm which has nothing to do with God or piousness. That's part of the beauty of Yom Kippur as well. I want to follow on and talk a little bit about my cruise. I went on a cruise. I was on the cruise last week. Throughout the festival of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. It was an amazing experience. something unbelievable. Whether it was a sunrise, which I got to see, the majestic scenes unfolding in front of my very own eyes. And I actually had an experience. I told a lady who I'd met like 20 minutes later or so, I said to her, I actually asked her, did you see the beautiful sunrise? It was majestic, wasn't it? I said to her, I don't know about you, but I felt like I won the lottery. It was worth more than money. A short while later, she turned to her husband and she said, that lady says that seeing the sunrise this morning was like winning the lottery. It was a pretty cool feeling to hear that. It was an amazing experience on a cruise. Whether it was the scenes outside of me or it was the scenes on the ship, the creativity of the human thought which created, and whoever saw my video from last week will quite clearly see the creativity that went into designing this ship is just unbelievable, incomprehensible. And looking outside of the ship, the one who designed the sky and the oceans, it's just unfathomable. That's why I say every single person should really go on a ship. If they want to appreciate greatness, if they want to expand their awareness, if they want to expand their understanding of life, you got to go on a ship, because that's where you're going to see. That's where you're going to see most of it. The lavishness, the expansiveness, the variance. It's just, I can't explain it to you. I can't describe it to you unless you're there. Even if you see pictures of it, you can't feel it to its fullest. Now on the ship, there was beautiful shows, amazing talent as well. I was blown away. And there was also a water park. Could you believe it? On a ship, there's a water park. I haven't been to a water park for many, many years. For over 30 years, actually. And going on those slides, it was like unbelievable. I remember I was like, at one point on the slide, you go through you go on this tube, slide, which is in a tube, and it's dark. You can't see anything. And I remember saying it numerous times. Oh my gosh, this is like the unknown, the unknown, unknown. It felt scary. The unknown felt quite scary. But within about 3 or 4 seconds, we were able to see again, and I was able to appreciate the vision and the light, which I have, which is also a gift from God. It was a beautiful, a tranquil experience. I've never felt something so tranquil and so unique as I felt whilst I was on the ship. Then there was everything else, the food and the drinks. Ooh, indescribable if you don't experience it yourself. It was amazing. I want to follow on and talk about an amazing experience I had after I disembarked from the ship. I arrived in Southampton, a city from where the Titanic left its port. Everyone knows the story of the Titanic. Sad and really unique and shocking. Sad what happened. It was sad the human neglect, the human lack of consideration for the fellow human being, not having enough lifeboats on the ship, and also the whole experience of the Titanic, which included the phenomena of people trying to beat certain records, and the passengers end up paying the price for their attempt to beat that record. Now, the uniqueness of the Titanic, with me in particular, was the fact that my son loved the story of the Titanic. It amused him. It made him think a lot about the fascination. He was fascinated. And we discussed it numerous times. I haven't seen my son in 6 years. Hadn't held a conversation with him in 6 years. And there's like no way I was going to skip over that museum. And I made it to the museum. It was a beautiful experience going to the museum. Now, the beautiful thing was that when I got to the museum, I put my suitcase in the locker there, and they gave me a ticket which said 17. And my son is 17. Coincidence? No. Synchronicity, more like it. I want to follow on with a beautiful story I heard today from a rabbi in the synagogue I went to, this Yom Kippur. He says a story as follows. He said a story as follows. There was a great sage. His name was Leib Soros. And Leib Soros was looking forward to the festival of Yom Kippur. He was going to have 10 Jewish men present at his prayer ceremony. And it's a requirement for there to be 10 Jewish men present at a prayer ceremony. And he was quite looking forward to it. Rabbi Leib Soros was made aware a short time before the proceedings that there was only going to be 9 people at the prayer services over Yom Kippur. Rabbi Leib Soros was quite concerned. What are we going to do? He said, you know what? We'll work this out. Now, what was he thinking? How was he going to hold the services? What was he thinking in the first place? Well, initially, he was under the assumption that there were going to be 10 Jewish men present. But the governor of the town decided to arrest 2 Jewish people who were on the way for the Day of Atonement. So they were going to be in prison throughout the festival, and therefore they weren't able to complete the whole prayer ceremony, which requires 10 Jewish men. Now, they told Rabbi Leib Soros, the people in the congregation told Rabbi Leib Soros, you should know that this governor that arrested him happens to be a Jewish person who has assimilated and has become anti-Semitic. Rabbi Leib Soros heard that. He said, I'm going to go to his house and I'm going to ask him to join us for the services. They're like, what? Wait a second. You're going to ask the governor who has anti-Semitic tendencies, has adapted anti-Semitic tendencies, who has arrested 2 Jewish men on the way to the proceedings, to the Yom Kippur proceedings. You're going to ask him to join us? It's like, yeah, I am. Do you contemplate what was going on here? Do you even begin to contemplate? Just wait. It's not over yet. You're probably wondering, what? But what's he thinking? Forget it. It's never going to happen. Rabbi Leib Soros arrives at the door of the governor. Okay. Allow me to just precede and let you know that before he arrived at the door, there were dogs that were barking. The sense there was a Jewish person coming. He was not put off. He wasn't perturbed. So be it. He's knocking. The servants opened the door, and Rabbi Leib Soros said he would like to speak to the governor. Rabbi Leib Soros came with his prayer shawl. What are these? I'd like to speak to the governor. A short while later, the governor comes down. The governor looked into his eyes and he was mesmerized. He's like, Rabbi, what's going on? Rabbi Soros turned to him and said, my dear governor, good evening. Or rather, good afternoon. It was still afternoon time. Good afternoon. I was wondering if you don't mind coming to our prayer ceremony and completing our requirement for 10 people, which is called a minyan in Hebrew. The governor's like, look, I'm not observant. I don't practice anything. But okay, I'll come. Do you fathom what guts, what courage it took for this rabbi to request such a thing? Do you even fathom the courage, the guts, the audacity? What audacity it took. It's unfathomable. Shocking, right? I heard this story. The story carries on, and the governor arrived, and he stayed throughout the whole day of Yom Kippur, and he actually passed out towards the end of the day, and he actually died. But Rabbi Sarah said we could still have our prayer ceremony because holy people, godly people are alive even when they're dead. But that's not the pinnacle of the story. The pinnacle of the story is the audacity, the guts, the courage Rabbi Soros had to go and ask the governor who had just arrested 2 Jewish people to come join him for the minyan, for the prayer ceremony. The audacity, in Hebrew we say chutzpah. I'm sure you heard the word chutzpah. I've seen it in films, the word chutzpah. Rabbi Soros had the audacity to ask for such a thing. And when you're a godly being, the message of the story, the moral of the story is that when you are a godly being, when you know yourself from the deepest place from within, and you gain confidence and courage as a result, and you're not perturbed anymore by people who don't like you, or people who want you dead, you're not perturbed, you're forgiving towards them. You know that they have certain gaps in their own mishandling of their own trauma, which is why they are replaying that trauma with yourself. When you're aware of all that, you're not put off by anything or by anybody. That's what I took from the story. To find that godly spark within you, to know its worth, to know its value, and not to be let off or put off by anybody or anything. Well, you know you're a godly being, even death doesn't scare you. Well, you know that God stands by you. Well, you know that you are here to serve God. That's what you came here for. Even death won't frighten you. That's why Rabbi Soros was able to do what he did. Fascinating tale, isn't it? I look forward to your amazing feedback. I also wanted to tell you, there's an important thing which I've figured out of late. When you are a unique individual, and you know yourself to be a unique individual, you understand that you have a unique mission to deliver. And although you might repeat a story you heard from somebody else, and you might say, why do I have to repeat that story? What's the value? Or you might deliver certain messages or certain insights and try to help people. And you might ask yourself, what do I have to add? Why me over anybody else? You should look in the mirror and understand that you have your own unique life experience and you have your own flavor, your own version, which is delivering those messages. So you're serving people by delivering kind and important messages, self-empowering messages with your own unique flavor and your own unique way of delivering it. So you do serve a purpose, and it is very much of value to even repeat what other people said, because you have your own unique style, your unique godliness. And somebody who may have not heard it from this particular person you heard it from, and probably wouldn't even be interested in listening to them, will listen to you because you have your own unique style, which you deliver it with. Think about that. It's unique. It's a bonus to hear that, I think. I'm inspired by my own messages. I don't know about you, but I'm inspired by my own messages. It's come with time. I've put out almost 1,000 videos thus far. I've actually put out over 1,000 videos, but a lot were deleted because there's too much negativity in them. That's my amazing message today. I'm so grateful for the new subscribers come on board, and for the amazing subscribers of the past. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to getting more subscribers, because I put out amazing messages, empowering messages, which I know will go far and are already going very, very far. I love you all so much. I look forward to your amazing feedback, your amazing comments, and I'm ever so grateful for the new subscriber and the new subscribers who are coming on board in the future. I love you all. God bless you. Have a great week ahead.